Welcome back to the Awaken podcast. Today we are landing ourselves into the space with a lot of richness, a lot of desire to create powerful conversation, which is something what is a common occurrence on my platform, and it's something what drives me and it fuels me and it motivates me to show up in the space, even the days I don't feel like showing up. So today we're bringing back for I think number 13, and that's fucking really cool to say. 13 episodes of the show so far, man. What a journey it's been. There's been some highs, there's been some lows, but I think now I'm finding some middle ground, and I'm pushing through the storm. So here we are, bringing it back. Now today's guest is a bit of a fan favourite. He started my journey with me pretty early on in the show, and the feedback was just absolutely incredible. And I think the substance that he brought was just incredible. The conversation was powerful. His story is inspiring. His essence is beautiful. His place on this earth is just, it's amazing. Nothing short of just absolutely amazing. So Benny, thank you again for joining me again today, brother.
Rocky, it's a pleasure to be here, bro. And first of all, wanted to congratulate you on, sticking to this. 13 episodes, man. You've cracked the double digits. Let's go.
Yeah, there's definitely been some turbulence, what has risen during the journey. But hey, that's all a part of it, right? Now, when you joined, was it episode 2?
Yeah, it was early on.
Very early on. Man, that was such a wild ride. I think even just the quality in the show, what's progressed from there, and I think now because the audience is a little bit bigger, I think today's going to hit it off. I think the conversation you and I had on number 2 was beautiful. It was awesome. I think it was almost one of my longest episodes, 2.5 hours or something. And it was just 2.5 hours of just awesome shit. It was incredible, brother. So, man, I'm looking forward to catch up with you. We haven't even had a personalised catch up outside of this, so
it's good.
It's like first hand sort of conversation, which is awesome to hear as well. And man, it's funny how you and I have this sort of running joke, sort of, I guess, tangent. How we're almost like the same person living the same sort of journey, just different timelines.
Yeah, a few years apart.
How does that sit with you?
Yeah, I feel that, bro. I've felt that for a long time. I see a lot of myself in you and where you're at and your determination for life and what you want to bring to this world and the challenges that you've been through. And yeah, I see a lot of resemblance. So it's like speaking into my younger self.
Yeah, it's funny. I think, I make it quite known how appreciative I am of you and just how, like, you inspire the fuck out of me.
Thank you, bro.
Like, the embodiments of your aura is just beautiful. And I think you are like one of my greatest sort of role models in my life.
Man, that means a lot.
Yeah, brother, of course, man.
It's nice, bro, because, when I was even around your age before that, like I don't think I was a role model to anyone. The way that I was living my life and who I was showing up as, it wasn't very inspirational. It wasn't, this dude's got his shit together. It wasn't, this dude's doing good things. It was a lot of projection, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of, quote unquote negative kind of traits. And it really took this long for me to make some big changes. And yeah, it's cool to speak into that and that younger version of me and to be like, yeah, cool, like we've made some changes. And I think the thing with this work, bro, is like it can be challenging in the moment to realize where the changes are occurring, but it's, connecting the dots looking back and in hindsight and that reflection piece. And it's like, oh, fuck. Oh, that's where I come from, because the changes can be so gradual and so small, and fucking going to these workshops and learning and listening to podcasts and surrounding myself with good people. And it's like, oh, what am I even doing? Like, is this even doing anything? And from the outside looking in, I think even to some people, personal development gets like this, it gets stigmatized as to like, why would you want to do that shit? Like, why would you bother going to that workshop on the weekend? what do you mean you're going to breath work? You know, like I was faced with a bit of that when I started breaking from my, you know, tribe and the circle that I was around. And now I get to offer them the reflection on who I was and who I am. And everyone's like, oh, fuck. Myself included. Oh, that's why. Because who I wasn't an exemplary version of a man, right? And now I hold myself to very high regard because I'm proud of the man that I've become. And that's through all of those little steps along the way. So, yeah, it's cool to reflect and look back and go, yeah, man, this work works. It changes who we are. And it might not be evident in the moment, but over time it compounds and eventually big shifts occur. And everything in my life is different now than what it was 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, I actually relate to that in terms of like the stigma around, you know, some personal development aspects. Even I think one of the most pivotal points with my journey is that practice at Qigong, the shame circle. And I tell people about that experience and what it entailed, and people look at me like, what? You were, what, nude in front of 200 men? Like, what the fuck is wrong? Like, you know, like that sort of stuff. And I guess, you know, when you're confronted with that, it brings you back. It's like, what do you mean? Why are you trying to make me feel bad for, you know, putting myself into a bit of uncomfortability? But I think, you know, projection is a reflection. So I guess I always just hold that to that account. And I think, yeah, I'm grateful for the path and especially the work that I've recently started on. Like, I'm very early into my men's work sort of journey and all that sort of stuff. And even with my own personal development, I still catch myself doing things or saying things. I'm like, oh, that doesn't align. What are you doing? I guess that's all a part of the journey. But I guess, you know, coming from our last episode and from me, because I know you personally, your life has been insane since our last chat in all the best ways possible. You've done some incredible things. So tell me about what you've been up to and what has Benny Gurel, what has he instilled into his life since our last chat?
When did we last chat? It was earlier this year.
January, February. Yeah. I feel like it was January. Man,
this year's been, and I'll say this year, but specifically the last few months have been massive for me. I've just been I've been riding this wave, right, where opportunity after opportunity have come up for me to work on myself, on my shit. I've had opportunities to attend events and workshops and things like that, personal invites. And a lot of the things that have been happening for me lately have been happening for me. They've been coming to me. The biggest thing that I can specifically touch on is that I've legitimately found my innate sense of self-worth. I've really, really connected to my worth in the world. Right now, part of that was through healing my abandonment wound from my mother. Right, I carried that from 7, and it was something that I didn't know I carried, but it portrayed outwardly and was reflected in every relationship that I ever had in my adult life. And then I became aware of it, and then it really, really became obvious as to where it was playing out in my relationships, in my lack of deep knowing who I am, in my authentic self-confidence, not putting on a mask and going like, yeah, I've got this shit, let's fucking go. But like genuinely like, like I know who I am. Right? And so this journey's been really, really bizarre, but I did some family constellation work with my therapist, shout out to Ryan Rose. And then since have done some other work in and around constellation therapy. And for me, so much shifted since that experience. I won't go too deep into how that works. I feel like that's a different podcast. But basically, I was able to reconcile with the pain and the abandonment and the grief that I felt as that little boy when I wasn't, when I didn't have my needs met, and when my mother left, right? And I love my mum. We've got a great relationship now, and so I want to put that out there too. But at the time, my needs weren't met. And so what that did is it created a void inside of me, right? And I carried that through right up until this year, 30 years, 31 years, right? And the biggest shift for me has been healing that. And when I say healing, I mean genuinely, like, you know, people will say in this space, like, the work is never done, the healing continues. And I used to subscribe to that. Now I believe that there comes a point where we realize our inherent worthiness and value in the world, and the work can stop. Maybe there's things that could be dug up and could be worked on. Sure, when no one's ever going to be perfect. I'm not saying that. But there comes a point where we don't need to do the work anymore, because, like, we're genuinely just living to some extent in our fullest expression. And for me, there's this, again, from Coach Ryan Rose, shout out to him again, he calls this thing shadow hunting, where we go on this path of looking for all the things that are wrong, right? And we can get addicted in the personal development space of seeking and searching for all the parts of us that need healing. And if you go on that path, man, it'll never end, right? Because it's just like, what's next? What's next? Oh, I want to heal this. I want to fix that. What about this? And so for me, that was a big part of my life for the past 7 or 8 years. And you know what? I don't regret a single second of it, because it's landed me where I am. But where I've landed after 7, 8 years of doing this work is in a place where I'm like, oh, fuck. There I am. I've really, really made contact and connection with the fullness of who I am, and I love that part of me. And to give you a tangible kind of reflection of how that looks now in my day-to-day life, my relationship has never been more secure. I leave for a week, 2 weeks. My partner leaves for a week, 2 weeks. We have the most beautiful connection and communication. There's no jealousy. There's no covert agreements or contracts. There's no silent manipulation or things going like that, which there was before. There was little shadows that were playing out, right, in the background. Like, oh, fuck, what about this? And I'm a bit jealous about that. And now really landing in this place of, like, this little boy feels whole and complete through this work that I've done. And so now as a man, I get to feel that fullness, and I get to love who I am, and I get to love my life genuinely, without this void and this lack that I was carrying before and trying to fill with all the things that I was doing. And so my journey has always been about, how can I feel good enough? Because I fucking don't, right? How can I feel worthy of love? How can I prove myself in the world? What can I do? And it wasn't really to prove to anybody else. I didn't have to prove it to my parents or anything, but I was really trying to prove it to myself. How am I going to demonstrate to myself that I'm good enough? Because nothing that I do ever feels good, right? And so everything that I did carried this sense of lack. It was like the achievement, fuck, what's next? Work really hard towards something, what's next? No celebration, no fulfillment, no completion, just emptiness. Again, go again, go again. And after doing all of this, and I say all of this because it landed me in that moment, and really it was a couple of weeks and a couple of months worth of deep work that it kind of all consolidated. But it was really 8 years of doing the things to arrive at that point, right? And now it's like everything that I do, I feel is good enough. And I still have a really high standard for myself. I still put in so much effort. I don't just go, fuck it, I'm complete. You know, Eckhart Tolle, I'm going to sit on the bench and meditate. Life's good. I'm striving, I'm hungry, I'm driven, but I'm so content with where I'm at. I'm really fulfilled in everything that I do. And I genuinely mean that. And it's not coming from arrogance or pride or ego. It's coming from, like, life is good. Right? And that is, for me, fuck, man, like, that's priceless. And that's I think where we all want to arrive, right? Is where it's like, this is good. I've come back from workshops. I've come back from international travel. And to some extent, I'm more excited to come home because the life that I've set up for myself here on the Gold Coast, the life that I live, and I'm pinching myself because I'm like, how did it get this good? And then I look back and I thank that boy that just continued to show up and do all the things. And I'm like, thank you. You know, so for me, on a tangent here, but the biggest thing that has shifted since I saw you last is I feel content with the man that I am and the man that I've become, and there's no longer a striving to be somebody different. So yeah.
That's beautiful, bro. I'm tearing up, like, just listening to that.
Thank you, bro.
I think, oh, shit. I think sitting here as someone who, you know, I'd classify you as someone really close to me. I think sitting here and listening to one of my brothers speak on his experience and speak on just how positive and how fulfilled he is in this current life. Like that, like you said, the word priceless, that's priceless to me. So man, congratulate you, not just from being a guest on my show, but from a brother as well, man. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for, I guess, showing up for yourself. And I think if people had, you know, if the world had more Betty Garrels, that would be, you know, the world would be such a better place. I think the way you show up, and I think the way you take action, it's fucking inspiring, man.
Thanks, bro.
And I've my other few close friends, and I bring you up quite often with them in conversation. Even my friends ask how you going, you know, because they know like you're this, you know, this pillar of just like beautiful masculinity and, you know, incredible self-work. And they know that you're someone who I look up to. But no, as a brother here, it is truly incredible to hear someone really close to me doing the work. And I guess I could say I'm sort of following in your footsteps. You know, there's definitely still some things that I'm working on. But I guess that's all a part of the journey. And, you know, lately, the past month has been, it's been everywhere. My brain has been chaos. But I think the one thing that I have had to allow myself to do is just surrender to the process. Surrender to the processes of what life is going to give me, because I have all this, so much ambition and so much drive, but I feel like in the midst of it, I just feel lost. And I was talking to one of my buddies yesterday, and he said, the cost of ambition is impatience. The price of ambition is impatience, something like that. And that landed. I was like, yeah, wow, because I'm so impatient. I just want to get to where I want to go, but I'm torn between enjoy the process, just stick with it because it will come to fruition. And then like, oh, fuck, I just want to get there because I'm not too sure how my life is going to look when I get to the places I want to get to. But I know it's just going to be fucking insane in the best way possible. And I think when you're talking about your healing from the little boy inside, what did that look like for you? That's a very broad question, but what did the practices you instilled, and how did you sit with yourself to a degree to allow the cracks to cover up?
I'll speak into a broader sense of some of the things that I'm working with at the moment. The little boy, I'll go big, then we'll go small, right? This will make more sense. What I'm working with now, the model that I've created is, I believe all of our problems or all of our challenges in life stem from disconnection, right? The model that I work with now is self, support, and spirit. So self is my hobbies, my joy, my mission, my purpose, my thoughts, my feelings, everything that is in my reality that is self, right? Having a connection to self. Support is friendships, it's relationships, intimate, platonic, it's loving partners, it's family, it's brotherhood, right? And then spirit is the animating force that governs all of life, that without putting a label on it, spirit to me is the thing that is life. It's the thing that moves through us. So that could just be nature. It could be the fact that realizing that beyond this vessel that there's more to life, right? And so for me, what I've discovered, what I've learned is that every single problem can be traced back to a disconnection from some part of one of these, if not all of these sections, right? And so as men, a lot of us are disconnected from ourselves. We're disconnected from what we want from life because we're working in jobs that we hate, or we've been conditioned to believe that who we want to be is not right or good enough or worthy. So we create this disconnection from self, disconnection from the little boy inside who had all of his dreams and ambitions, who sought to be loved and didn't have his needs met. And then we create, as we grow older, we disconnect from that version of ourselves as well. We disconnect from our play. We stop playing. Again, we disconnect from, maybe it's family, friends, relationships, whatever it is, spirit. We think that we have to do this all on our own, that we're just a man in the world, just got to suck it up and get on. And so the work that I do now is helping men to connect where they've been disconnected, right? And I can guarantee you, without a shadow of a doubt, that every man that has an issue could be traced back to something in one of those. It's a disconnect. What are you feeling like? Oh, I'm feeling unmotivated. I'm feeling uninspired. What are you disconnected from? Myself, my passion, my purpose, my mission. I'm struggling in relationships right now. What are you disconnected from? I'm disconnected from the needs of the little boy, right? He's feeling disconnected from me because he didn't have his needs met. That little boy was disconnected from the love that he needed. He was disconnected from his parents. He was disconnected from the world. So we've carried that through, right? So coming into wholeness is starting to just make connection with these parts of ourselves, make connections with these parts of life, right? It's simple, but it's not easy. But it's like, how do I show up better in relationship? What are the parts of me that I'm disconnected from that are actually taking hold of me, of my psyche, of my energy when I'm in relationship? What pattern am I defaulting to? What's coming through? What I've seen now is that when we bring the awareness to these parts of ourselves, the inner boy, the shadow, these parts that up until we look at them remain in the unconscious, right? And seek to come through because they've got needs that they want to have met. And if we don't choose to meet the needs of ourself or of these parts of ourself, they will seek to have those needs met by the rest of the world, right? And that's when we become needy in relationships, or we lose ourselves and start people pleasing because this part of us is seeking to have that love met somewhere else. And so that's what I was doing. My little boy didn't get the love that he needed as a child, so he was seeking to have that love and those needs met in the external world, in my relationships. And when my relationship, for instance, when I was in close proximity to my partner, I felt the love. But if she went on a work trip, all of a sudden that love was taken away, and it highlighted and reminded me of the abandonment. Even though she was coming back, my inner boy didn't know. My unconscious self was like, where's this love gone? I can't see her. She's not here. She's 10,000 kilometers away in another country. Oh, fuck. I'm not safe. Right? And then so I have two choices in that moment. I can choose to seek the safety and have my needs met through her, through the relationship, through the world, or I can turn back inwards, again, create connection to that part of myself, and then I can fulfill those needs on my own. Again, with support and with the encouragement of my partner. She can be a part of my journey, but it's then my responsibility to turn back around and to create that connection for myself. Right? So healing my inner boy was connecting him to all the things that he needed but didn't get as a boy, that he still needs today. Right? Because that little part of us, it doesn't stay there. It comes with us. That part of our psyche that we are developing through childhood, it gets stunted by these traumatic experiences. It creates a disconnection. And then that doesn't just heal because now we're 8, now we're 9, now we're 20, now we're 30. It comes with us, right? And there's still that part of us, not our entirety. And you could say that, you know, the who we truly are is our soul. But in this vessel, we have parts. We have this innate core, this true essence that we are. But every time we have a quote unquote negative experience or a traumatic event or a conflict separation, we start to fragment and we create different parts of our personality. And so that's why we can say, this one part of me feels really good in this relationship, and this other part of me is shit scared. We say that. This part. We talk about parts, but then when someone says you have split personality, it's like, no, I'm just one person, right? But we're all made up of these parts. And so it's really beginning to take an honest look at which part is running the show whenever we're in fear, whenever we're in stress, whenever we're in overwhelm or panic or disconnect, and it's creating that connection back to that part, right? So for me, in my truest, authentic, highest version that was coming through in a lot of areas in my life before, that felt really easy because like life was really good in my work, you know, it really good in my health, but then in my relationship, I had a disconnection. So I can continue to run my life that way, or I can realize which part of me is coming forward and create a connection back to that and say, hey buddy, what do you need? And for me, that is where the ongoing process of healing occurs. It's like, hey, what does this part of me need? How do I see the fragmented parts of myself as that? Little parts of me that are still me, but have split off and have created their own personality. How can I have a conversation with those parts? And then how can I bring them back in and welcome them in instead of going, I fucking hate this guy. Because when he comes through, he's really jealous in my relationship. There's this weird part of me that gets real clingy when my partner pulls away. Fuck that. I fucking hate that. Right? Because that's what we do. We reject. And every time we reject, we splinter that part off a little bit more. We push it out a little bit further. But the key to healing is going like a child, right? Curiosity, empathy, compassion. Hey, buddy, what do you need? Why are you over there? Why do you feel this way? What's going on? Oh, this is reminding me of that time that, you know, this thing happened in childhood. I feel really scared right now. I feel really afraid and vulnerable in this relationship, and I'm scared I'm going to get hurt. Hey, come here. Have a conversation, have a dialogue, create connection, bring it back in. And there's a bunch of other, you know, deeper processes and practices around this, but that's the essence of it, man. It's seeing where we've disconnected and then creating more connection.
Man, that's beautiful. That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. What do you think for someone listening who could potentially be feeling these feelings right now? What would be something that you could give them to be able to combat them in their own life?
Combat them is...
That's probably the wrong word. I guess...
Come into contact with.
Invite them.
Yeah.
I guess.
Because this is what I used to do, man. And again, this is some of the work that I've been doing over these past couple of years is like, I used to have this real kind of hyper masculine approach to everything. I still do in a lot of ways, but I'm trying to tame it and make it more integrated. But I'll be like, how do I attack this thing? Right? Is it really like there's a part of you that's disconnected? Do we really need to attack the work?
Yeah.
Do I really need to combat this part of myself? And that's how I was approaching everything. I was like, how do I fucking win? How do I beat this thing? How do I overcome it? Like it's an obstacle or a challenge. And again, that creates further separation because it's like, now it's something outside me that I need to overcome. So tangent there. How do I accept this part of me? How do I integrate this part of me? How do I welcome this part of me? Because the more that we try to overcome it or beat it, we're looking at it as an external thing to overcome. And then so it's always going to stay external to us. So bringing it back in. If somebody's listening to this or watching this, the first thing, man, it's awareness. Everything, you know, Awake and Aware, it's a podcast, right? It's awareness. And hopefully some of these conversations trigger, you know, thoughts of reflection and moments of inspiration of, oh yeah, it makes a little bit of sense. And then start to contemplate and get really honest. Realizing that we are not our behavior, that we exist beyond it and behind it, but then seeking to understand where that behavior is coming from. I think this is what I see a lot of, is that we just accept that the way that we're showing up is just the way that we are, right? And I'm all about self-acceptance, but I think beyond that, where does my behavior actually come from? Where did I learn this, right? Instead of just, this is just who I am. How often do you hear that? This is just who I am. Says who? We won't ever know who you really are, because you are a product of your environment, for starters. You're a product specifically of the first 7 years of conditioning that you inherited from your parents, from school, from childcare, from the people you grew up around. And then you carry a lot of that into your adult life. So who are you really, I think, is the question to ask. Who am I beyond my name, beyond my friends, my family, beyond the way that I show up in the world? Who am I really? What is really alive inside of me? Like, these are deep questions, right? But that's honestly where I would start, because anything outside of that is just a Band-Aid. It's like you can go, you know, and I could say like best thing for you to do is go and do a breathwork journey. That'll help come into contact with parts of yourself that you may have been disconnected from. You know, go to a men's work event. Similarly, that'll help you come back into contact with parts of you that you've been disconnected from. But that's the theme. That's the theme of all of these things, right? A lot of them, and there's definitely workshops we can attend where there's, you know, a desire to experience the next level of life, and we're breaking through to the next thing, right? Where am I going? And I think that kind of comes next. But I think if we're so focused on moving forward, but we don't take a look at where we've come from, then everything that we do moving forward will just be bulldozing, because it won't be integrated from the past, if that makes sense. So that was a big part of my life. Strive, next. How often do you hear of like famous people that have got all the success in the world exterior, you know, in their physical world, but internally they're depressed as fuck, they're ODing on drugs or binge drinking and things like that? Not always, but it's like the striving forward won't necessarily fill the void that was created from the past. And so, again, part of my work is looking at both that. Where am I going and where did I come from? Right? I see a lot in hustle culture about where I'm going, but not a lot of ownership of what's actually going to take me there. So, long-winded answer, if someone's watching this and they want to start doing the work, come into contact with the parts of you that you haven't been connected with.
I think that's powerful. You're talking about these things and I'm sitting here, I'm like, that resonates. Yeah, there's disconnect there in my life. Yeah. And look, there's some aspects in my life where I definitely don't have it all figured out. But I'm aware of that. And I do make a conscious effort to sit with it. I think there is some aspects of me that I can push away. I think there's a lot of relationship trauma there for me, which I'm aware of. For the most part, I am. I love myself, but I think I love myself by the actions I take. And I think that reverts back to my self-love. One of my really close friends, he asked me this 2 weeks ago. He said, do you love yourself? Because there is a difference between self-love and loving yourself. And I'm like, who? And I sat on it, and my response was, the love I have for myself comes from the way I show up in areas of my life that I know doesn't serve me. I won't put energy towards things that don't serve me, so I guess I love myself for that. I love myself for pushing through hard times when they do arise. I love myself for showing up on days I don't want to. And then into my, fitness life, I show up. I love myself for pushing through a hard session. For, when I wake up, I don't want to go for that run. I go for the run anyway. And I love myself for that. But as a whole self-love, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And yeah, you sitting there, there's a lot of disconnect for sure, 100%. But I guess the way I show up for them is just by allowing them to come through. I think for so many years I pushed away everything, people, relationships. I pushed away myself when I was, partying and on the packet, and that just comes from a lack of self-worth. I didn't love myself, man. I was just trying to fit in. I was trying to be the big macho man, So I guess, yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that I resonate in you talking about that, which I appreciate. It's just a reminder of there's so much more work to do.
But on that, bro, and that's a beautiful realization. Great awareness.
Thank you, brother.
And again, there probably always will be so much work to do, but then how can we still find the joy in the moment, even when the work is being done, right? Not just on ourselves, but in our business and all of the things. It's like another teaching that I've really started to embody over the past 12 months is like, how can I find joy even when the work isn't done? Right? Because there will always be more to do, but it's like, yeah, cool. I'm on the journey. And to circle back just briefly, bro, you know, when I talk on the disconnection from these parts of us, and you spoke into being on the packet, and I have a history of drug and alcohol abuse, right? When we're in that sense of disconnection, we'll seek unhealthy ways to fill that void, to feel connection. And so that can be drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, gambling, fighting, whatever the fuck it is, to feel a sense of joy, even though it's temporary, pleasure, satisfaction, validation, worthiness, approval, whatever it is. And so we can either seek it in healthy ways and reconnect with those parts, or, you know, that underneath a lot of that behavior when we're taking drugs, there's something that we're connecting with in that substance, in that drug, that we're looking to feel, because in our day-to-day life we're not feeling. Whether that's just like a thrill or a buzz or excitement or something. It's like, oh, I'm connecting to that through this means, because I don't have connection to that through any other way, right? So then we go, oh, where can I find that connection? And all these other things. The challenge that men face in today's modern world, and I've overcome addictions to drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, sex, porn, right? So I speak from experience with this. I've fucking done I've had issues with a lot of them, right? And that's the challenge that we face in today's modern world with men, is that those things are really fucking easy. They're really easy, right? They feel really good and they're really easy to get. And what we're really seeking through a lot of those is something deeper than what that's giving us, but it's harder to get, you know? So we numb it out and we connect through these other substances and means instead. And so when we understand that again, it's like, okay, cool, what am I seeking through this, and how can I connect to that in a healthy way, and then replace that with a better habit.
Yeah, beautiful share. Thank you, brother. I guess for you, you've had all this positive experience this year, and it's been moving. It's been, it's shaped you into a better Benny. What's been, I guess, the greatest challenge you have faced amongst all the positive journeys?
The biggest challenge for me, bro, has been letting people in. Yeah, would be letting people come close to me, letting people support me, allowing myself to actually receive the support instead of just doing it on my own, which again it's wounding. I can't trust people to help me. I'll just do it on my own. But I've moved through a lot of that too. That's been like the hardest thing, I would say, is like not feeling as though I can actually receive support, even though it's been there.
Yeah, I relate. I'm not sure. I think because I love to give and I love to show support and I love to give people, space, and I love to comfort them, I find it really difficult to receive. Like, yeah, letting people in, I don't allow many people in. I probably have like 4 or 5 close friends. And, people reach out to me and, as nice as it is, I struggle to receive support, because I think, along the self-development journey, I think I have it in my head that it's all up to me. For the most part it is, right? For the most part, showing up for yourself is all on you, but there's definitely an aspect of just allow someone in. not to say that I don't take advice from people. I love taking it. I love hearing advice, and I ask for advice quite often to help it into my journey. But I know, I think if someone was to sit me down and be like, let's work through this, I'd be like, I can do it on my own. Which probably isn't the most positive way, but yeah, I know. I think the last few months, it's been turbulent for sure. There's been a few things rise, a few things crash. But no, I think for the most part, I'm not sure if it's a negative thing that I don't allow a lot of people to support me. I have a lot of support. Like you said, it's there. Like, don't get me wrong, I have so many people who I could really lean onto. But no, I'm in this phase of, if I want to grow and develop, I have to do it on my own. And I guess that's why I've just had to surrender to the process of life. Just whatever life wants to show, let it come through. And that's been a big development within me, because I used to seek the utmost control of my life. And for the most part, I have a lot of control of my life. But I think I was trying to control the things I couldn't. Career, financially, what's my next move? What can I do? And so I think, yeah, it's been a wild journey, and I think now there's a lot of contentment and a lot of, I guess you could say, happiness. Some days is fucking dark days. That's why, yeah, you know, you talking here, speaking on some experience, I'm like, yeah, that resonates. That relates, which is beautiful. But I guess when you say you struggle to allow support, have you allowed support, and how have you allowed yourself to bring down that wall?
Again, bro, connecting to where that started. Where did I learn that? Right. For me, my attachment style was anxious avoidant. When I was out of a relationship, like I learned in childhood, I grew up really fucking quick, right? Without a mum around, without receiving the love that I needed, I started getting into a lot of trouble really early on. And I started to just not rely on others for support through that wounding, right? Again, I love my mum, so I'm not going to speak ill, but I'm just speaking the truth when I say this stuff. When she left, I learned that it's not okay to rely on others, right? Even though my dad was around and he was amazing too, there was a part of that boy at 7, too young to rationalize. Oh, okay, mum's moving through her own stuff. It's fine. She still loves me. It's like, fuck, there's something wrong with me, right? I'm not worthy of love. I'm broken. I'm not good enough. Even my mum left. Damn, now I'm pissed off. Now I'm angry. Now I'm sad. Now I'm scared. And now I'm just going to work it out on my own, right? I'm not going to let people too close because even my mum left. So I'm going to joke, keep people at an arm's length, be the joker, be the asshole, be the bully. I'm going to carry all this and project it into every experience that I have because I'm fucking hurting and I don't know how to deal with this because I'm only a kid. And again, even as I went through my teens and 20s, that part of me was still very undeveloped, very immature, right? Even though my physical exterior was adulting, my internal psyche or parts of me weren't. And so to answer your question, bro, the way that looked was at that age, I learned that it's not okay for me to rely on others for support. It's easier, I'm safer. This is how like an avoidant attachment style can develop. It's like, I'll just learn to do everything on my own because the love that I'm getting is inconsistent or it's not available. I'll meet my own needs. And then we become hyper independent. We're not designed to be hyper independent. We were born into tribe, you know, like we're a tribe species. And so that for me is a wounding. So as I carried that, it's like, why aren't I letting people in? Why don't I trust anyone? Why don't I reach out for support? Oh, that's why. There's a part of me that's scared. Simple. There's a little boy in me that's hurt who's like, don't do that because they won't know. And also, if they really knew who I was, they'd fucking freak out. Who I am is not good enough to be loved. So I'm going to create an image that is worthy of love and project that out into the world. And if people really see beyond that and see how much I'm struggling or suffering inside, then they won't love me anymore. They'll take that love away. And especially because I've been carrying this act for so long. So the best thing I can do is keep everyone away and work on it myself, because once I do that, then I can prove again to myself that I'm worthy of that love. But support is vulnerable. It's opening up. It's, hey, this person might see who I really am, and then they might take that love away. So for me, bro, again, it comes back to the self connection, to that part. Once I'd connected to that part and been okay with that, and it reassured him, hey, I'm here for you. I love you. It's okay. How can we work through this? I've got you through this. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. And if you are, I've got you. It's okay. Just like a little child. Let's move through this together. Now I can invite other people in to help support that process. But while he's in charge, freaking out, going, I don't want anyone to see me like this. No, everyone stay away. I'm angry. It's like, fuck the world. Don't come near me. I've got this shit on my own. But when he calms down, when he's put in the back seat, you know, and I'm driving again, it's okay to bring that to the world, to bring that to support, because I realize that it's like, I'm okay. I'll be okay through this, even with or without support. I'll be okay. Right? And so through that, I can ask for support, because either way, I'm fine. For me, whenever I'm not reaching out for support or someone else is not reaching out for support, what I see or what I hear is that they feel like there's going to be something that they lose, or that they have to uncover, or a part of themselves that gets revealed through that support that they're not willing to show or be connected with, if that makes sense. So they keep that part hidden. But coming into support is like allowing all parts of self to be held. And that can be really fucking challenging when that wasn't offered to us in childhood. Yeah, because we don't have a reference point for it, to what that actually feels like. And that is safe. Right.
How has Jade been a big influence on your support network?
Yeah, good question. Jade's incredible, bro. She is the first person that I've been in a relationship with that has a naturally embodied secure attachment style. And so for me, like in past relationships, as having an anxious attachment style, I was attracting people that had avoidant attachment styles. And it's not always evident to begin with, but when the conflict arises, it becomes evident really fucking quick. And it's in those moments of disconnect and rupture in the relationship that it's obvious who's acting out what. Someone's pulling away and someone's chasing, right? And that was the pattern and the theme of my relationships, is even the ones that were really good, and I had relationships for 5 years, they were really good until they weren't. And then when they weren't, they were fucked up.
Yeah, mic drop. I am same. Yep.
Because that's when the patterning comes out. I don't want to say trauma. That's when the patterning reveals itself, right? And so then without the awareness, it just perpetuates. Someone runs, someone chases, and it gets to be this cat and mouse game where it just, the more that someone chases, the more the other person runs, and then it's just this fucking loop. And so in two ways. One, I didn't have the awareness or the communication skills in previous times to be able to actually navigate these parts of myself, which I've developed since then and since entering a relationship with Jade. And then two, her being in a secure place and also just being willing to meet me in the moment to navigate those spaces together has been so fucking therapeutic. Because instead of running away when my little boy had he had his own fears and insecurities that he wanted to have expressed in past relationships, that the woman that I'd be with would run away, would stonewall me, go cold, avoid me for 3 days. And so I'm left. And again, with hindsight and awareness, I could have navigated that on my own. But in those moments, I'm just left as this little boy freaking out, going, what the fuck do I do now? Mum just left me again. I don't have the skills, the tools, and the awareness to cope with this. What the fuck am I going to do? Right? With Jade, any conflict that's arisen or any challenges that have come forth, it's like, ooh, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm experiencing. I need to communicate this with you. Yep, cool. let's chat about it. And there's no emotional dysregulation through that, no fighting, no yelling, no screaming, no avoidance. It's just like, fuck, how can we both meet the moment of this, get to the truth of what's occurring, and then love each other through it? And how do we come back to love? And obviously me doing my own work away from the relationship, how can I love my own little boy? But by Jade showing me that it's okay to feel the way that I had been feeling in the relationship, and she would not leave, right? Hey, even though you had love taken away from you in previous times, I just want to let you know I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to love you no matter what. Oh,
Fuck.
that little part that's like, fuck, is love really safe? He's like, what? And it's repatterning that. So she's really helped me to repattern my nervous system to feel as though love is safe. She's been a massive part of my journey, man. Yeah, huge. And now, even when she's always loving me, but even when she's not present, I don't revert to that, because it's like, it's repatterned. It's not something that I only feel in the moment. It's like, oh fuck, I have embodied a new level of safety within my nervous system in relationship, in love. And I trust that the relationship will be okay, even if there's moments of tension or separation. And even if the relationship's not okay, I'm okay, because I know how to self-source and self-soothe now and comfort myself. So there's no reliance on the relationship to be okay, which is a paradox, makes the relationship okay as well. Because the more secure I am, the more secure the relationship is. So the more detached I am from an outcome, the more I can show up to it.
Man, that is beautiful to hear, bro. I think from the outside looking in, I can just tell how much you two love each other. Like, you guys are just made for each other, I guess you could say. And I think, you know, I knew you before you got with Jade, and I guess me watching your journey as well as you're watching mine, I've seen you develop and, you know, into such a beautiful, like, you're always beautiful, inside and out. But I think, you know, you've taken the steps and you've done the work, and it's fucking awesome. It's inspirational, man.
Thanks, bro.
And I can just, you know, tell how much you guys love each other, and it's gorgeous. And it's like relationship goals to a T, 100%. And, you know, you've done a lot of international travel this year. Most specifically, you've just come back from San Diego, I think it was, or California. Talk to me about the processes in that, why you were there, what happened. The people want to know.
Man, I just want to go back just a moment and say thank you for honouring and acknowledging my relationship and my love with and for Jade.
Of course, brother.
What feels really good for me and us in our relationship now is that we are experiencing a love and a connection that was not and has not been modelled to us. We've created it. And so I'm really proud of that, because, again, my parents split when I was 7, and my view on relationships, mum dated a couple of times, not great outcomes. Dad didn't date again. And so my view on relationships and what I was brought into and what my experience on relationships were, what I witnessed in my friends was not healthy, although it was normal. It wasn't healthy relating, right? And so I demonstrated that through my, you know, most of my teens and 20s. And it feels really good, man. And so thank you for honouring that, because I am proud of the fact that we've been able to move beyond what we've witnessed and create a love that feels really fucking good, and by textbook is genuinely healthy, you know, but beyond what anyone else thinks, it just feels really fucking good. And that's been a mission and a process and work from both ends. But unfortunately, there's not many relationships that exist in today's world, unless you go searching for it on Instagram, that actually demonstrate healthy, effective conflict resolution, love, connection, and that. So yeah, thanks, bro. Thanks. It feels really fucking good to have landed after what am I now, like 15 years of relating with women, you know, to fucking finally land in a place where it's like, oh, this one feels good. And I don't feel scared and I don't feel fucking chaotic. Yeah, it feels good.
That's beautiful. Do you think she's the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, man. But and you know, I don't like that saying. I don't say it, but yeah.
Why don't you like it? Superficial.
It pedestalizes someone and an experience as well. Like, are we meant to be together? Yes. Is she the one? It just feels like this kind of idolization of, you know, pedestalizing.
Yeah, I get that.
A particular person or experience. Because then if I say that too, and then things don't turn out, and I've invested everything into the one, which I've done, thinking someone else was the one. This is why I don't go there too deep. It's like my whole reality shatters.
Yeah.
Because how often do people, and I'm not going to speak into my experience because I love my woman so deeply, but how often do people think they've found the one, and then they actually haven't? Then their whole reality fucking pops.
It's like expectation than reality. Yeah, for sure.
Because they're like, I'm gonna marry this person, I'm gonna do this. Then all of a sudden they split.
Yeah.
And they crumble. So I don't like to look at it like that. I like to look at it as each moment just building upon the next, you know? Yeah. Coming back to your other question, bro. America for me was, so I've recently started doing some training and some embodiment of men's work with Sacred Sons, which is a large organization based out of America that has their roots in a lot of different countries now, all over the world. And to me, they are a leader, likely I would say the leader in the men's work movement space globally. There's a couple of other organizations, but yeah, Sacred Sons are doing some really cool things. And so for me now, bro, I've been wanting to help people for a long time, and there's always been this kind of, again, this not feeling good enough to actually be a leader, to you know, I want to help people, but also like I'm fucking imposter syndrome, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, because I've been coming from a place of lack. And even though I've had the capacity to help people, and we all do, no matter how we feel, it's come from a place of like really struggling to really bring the fullness of my gifts and who I am to the world, because I've also been battling through the conflict of my own internal challenges, right? And so now, again, I feel like I've landed in a place where I feel, I don't think that this will necessarily last forever, but I'm in a really good place where I feel so solid in who I am that I don't feel the need to take from the world to fill my cup anymore. I feel like it's full and I've just got to keep it full. And so through that, I now feel like I have an excess and a surplus to offer back. And that's what feels really good for me. My cup is so full, I have so much to offer, to serve my clients, to serve the men in my community. Like, I'm doing free workshops and things. Like, for me, it's not about money. It's not about getting or taking or receiving my own validation. It's about like, man, I get it. I get what it feels like to battle through the bullshit for decades. And I'm here to offer some of the things that I've learned, that I've experienced, that I've witnessed, that I've developed, that I've gained, so that someone else may benefit from that wisdom and knowledge too. Because for me now, it feels imperative that I don't keep what I know to myself, right? Because it's taken so long to accumulate what I know, and it's like, fuck, how do I help others with that? And so Sacred Sons have been a part of my journey now, deepening into men's work and the way that they lead, the way that they facilitate practices. I spent 2 days in Perth last weekend. I'm off to Byron Bay for 2 days tomorrow, helping to support their immersions that they've brought to Australia. And so that's a big part of my work moving forward, is really getting my roots in and connecting with brothers that are doing the work, seeing how I can be of assistance, starting my own movements and things in the new year as well, and really just feeding back into community, feeding back the deep threads of brotherhood, the deep threads of connection to self, to support, to spirit, and helping men move through some of the challenges that we've been carrying for way too long.
What do you think motivates you the most to show up in the space? Is it the noticing of the disconnect between men and society almost, or does it just come from a place of you just want to follow your own thread to the depth of your core in which your capacity allows you to?
Yeah, good question, bro. There's a part of me that gets fulfilled out of doing this work, right? So like there's always a selfish aspect to it. It's like, this feels good. If I hated it, I wouldn't do it, right? So like I benefit because it feels really nice and rewarding to do something with my time and my energy and my gifts. It's an interesting one, bro, because beyond all of that, something's moving through me, right? And for the most, I'm just going to say it how I feel it. Can't say I'm not choosing this. This is not my plan. This is not my plan. This is the plan for me.
Yeah, I get that.
Right? So I don't feel like I'm like, oh, what do I do with my life? What's my mission? What's my purpose? How do I fucking help people and do this? I'm just following the threads and answering the call. And I'm in such great devotion and service to the inspiration that moves through me that I don't really question too deep why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm just like, let's go.
Yeah.
And I've done that for a long time, and it's really served me. And I trust myself so fucking deeply now. When something feels like it wants to move through me, I act. It's what made me helped me, encouraged me to leave my job my business when I was 23 to move overseas. It took me to Peru. It moved me to the Gold Coast. It took me into breath work. It's moved me into men's work. All of these things, man, every major life transition that I've made over the past decade hasn't been made from a place of cognitive, rational reasoning or deliberate and intentional thinking. That's come secondary to the impulsive movement that's moving and channeling through me, right? So I've got a connection to my intuition, if you want to call it that, or a connection to spirit, a connection to whatever it is that animates me, that says, hey, this is where you need to fucking go. Move. And then my brain comes in and says, what's the best way to do this? And how then I act. And I think we all have that, but we silence it. We all have that, hey, this is where you need to be. This is what you should be doing. And for some, it's not men's work, but it's something. Hey, photography is the thing that really lights you up. Follow that. Hey, be a DJ. Hey, be a stay-at-home mum. Hey, be a cook. Whatever it is. But we silence it through expectations and safety and the need to pay the bills and all the other things. So for me, I've been really blessed where selfishly I act without having to take into consideration too much the needs of others. Right? Jade is really supportive and she's on the journey with me. I don't have children. And so right now I'm acting and making as many moves and decisions as I can before I'm committed to deeper responsibilities that will hold me to a different level of living.
Yeah.
And I think before moving to the Gold Coast, I was single, right? So while I'm young and single, the world is my oyster. Like, I really believe that. There's nothing stopping us if we're in our 20s or 30s with no woman and no children, right? Yep, family, but family will always be there. I don't think it's our responsibility to stick by family so much. I think it's more imperative that if our purpose takes us away from family, that we honor that and we visit our family and we stay connected and we call them and we love them from a distance if need be, but we make an effort to stay connected. But for me, being born in a particular location isn't enough for that to dictate my entire life. Oh yeah, you were born in Geelong, stay there. That's where your family is. Nah, man, that's not where I am meant to be. I'm meant to be right here doing exactly what I'm doing. So I answer that call every time. So yeah, hope that answers your question, bro.
Yeah, beautiful insight, bro. Thank you for sharing. And your position in the men's space, there's obviously what I've noticed recently in recent times, and I understand there's a bit of a hierarchy of authority which you and I might not have the capacity to speak on, but in your experience and in your opinion, what do you see the biggest the divide in men and women is currently in the society?
The divide between men and women?
Yeah, I've seen it recently. Do you think you have an opinion on that?
Ask me the question in a different way. How, in what way?
I feel like at some point there's a bit of a challenge between the masculine and feminine, in a way that femininity resents masculinity for past behaviours.
Sure. That's a different question. The way that men are being made to be the problem?
Yes.
Is it? Yeah. I see that. I wouldn't like to, talk too deep into a divide between masculine and feminine, but I do see very much how men are being made to be the bad guys in a lot of ways. And we're being demonized for all the things that we've, done wrong, all the ways that we haven't lived up to our full potential. But inherently, I think we're just being blamed for everything. All the wrongdoings in the world is a men's fault, is a men's problem. Look, man, I think all of this stuff, that any time it comes to separation and segregation, it's just a matter of divide and conquer. And I think the inherent essence of all of creation is unity. It's oneness. I don't think men are better than women, and I don't think women are better than men. But I think men are better at some things than women, and women are better at some things than men. That's a fucking truth. Well, that's what I live by. So how can we complement and play into each other's strengths? Because that's what we're here to do. We're complementary opposites, which we touched on last time, right? Same with the relationship. Opposites attract. It's why we get together, right? It's relationships where there's two people in the same polarity, in the same, energy, masculine and masculine, doesn't often work. So like any time, and so when we come together, we're fucking unstoppable, right? When a man is embodied in his strength and his purpose and his power and his ability to lead and protect and provide, and a woman's in her own power, in her own unique way, and the feminine's ability to lead, and in her way to nurture and care and love and support. And when those energies come together, not just in relationship, but in the collective, like there's so much harmony, I think, in that. But again, if we just tie it back to what I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of disconnection, right? And all of this just feeds into more disconnection. And I think, in all honesty, there's an agenda at play to create more divide, to separate men from women, to separate straight from gay, to separate black from white, to separate all these ways that I think we're going backwards. I don't subscribe to it. I don't follow it. I don't know a lot of what's going on in the world. You can call me ignorant, but for me, I choose to focus on what's immediate in my reality and the things that I can control. But I know that there's a larger undercurrent at play that seeks to divide and conquer. Because as a species, if we all work together to our strengths, if men did all the good things they could do and all the women did all the good things they could do and we came together, we wouldn't need tyrannical governments and people in positions of power, because we would be a self-sustaining, civilization. So any time that it's like, oh, where's this divide coming from? I just think it's a top-down approach. I don't really think that the people are doing that too much. I don't really think that the average woman is saying men are the entire problem of the thing, and I don't think men are saying that about women. But I think there's a narrative that's being spoken into which perpetuates that and feeds that. Yeah. And that is just to create more divide. And again, are women saying that? Yeah, sure. What are they disconnected from? Their little girl, their father, the part of them that was hurt by a man. And have we been responsible for creating a lot of pain in the world as a collective? Yeah, sure we have.
Yeah.
But are all men bad? Fuck no. We're doing a lot of great things too. We've contributed to building a beautiful world, and we will continue to do so. And any time that's spoken into, I just think it's a matter of coming back into connection. If men are truly connected to themselves and their power, and women are truly connected to themselves and their power, this wouldn't even be a conversation. So where do we take responsibility for our own individual self and come back into connection rather than project onto somebody else? Hey, you did all this. You're a man. You did all this. Nah. Where's the one finger out, three fingers pointing back in?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better, brother. Nail on the head. Yeah, absolutely agree with everything. There's definitely a narrative what is being spoken into. Great way to put it. Absolutely phenomenal.
What's your perspective?
Yes, a lot of men, I think, from my perspective, men are being blamed for the entirety of the problem. Some of the content I have posted throughout my TikTok and Instagram, the content being about a man and like a relationship, the comments of just all females, men are trash, men are the reason why, I've only ever been cheated on, men are the reason why I'm so hurt, I think men are just being blamed a lot, and I think there's a lack of understanding that there's a lot of good men in the world. I'm sitting in front of one right now, right? And I think for the most part, so many women, they use their past experiences to project it onto, future, and like you said, the narrative, what's being completely spoken into. I think for the most part, women understand that there's good men in the world, and men understand that there is good men in the world, and that men understand that there's good women in the world. I think there's definitely, it's an unbalanced ratio between love and hate towards men. To elaborate on that, I think a lot of men understand that there's a lot of good women in the world. We know that. I know it. You know it. But I think 80% of 80% of women don't understand that. They use their past experiences to create this picture of the whole of men. And it's disheartening. I would sit here not out of arrogance or ego, but say that I'm a good man. I show up and I'm loving, I'm caring. I have, the desire to really create a life for someone beautiful and create a beautiful life with someone as well. I think it's quite unfair, to be quite frank. I think it's quite unfair that men are constantly being shat on. Yes, absolutely, men have created some pretty horrible things, and they've done some horrible things, but I think the awareness, what is being, spread in the men's community, and especially in the men's work, that a lot of people are embodying and they're taking a part in. I think, it's a bit unfair, to be honest. And I think, it's really easy right now for us men to snap back and be like, no, but women are fucked. No, but I've been cheated on. Oh, but you did this to me. They did that to me. She took my money, whatever it is. I think it's really easy for men to sit here and attack it, but we aren't. I think for me, I feel sorry for the women who feel like that, who feel like men can't serve them. I really do. Because there's so many of us in this life who we deserve so many great things and so many great people. But like you touched on, it comes from a lack of connection. The people who are having that, the negative experiences or the negative opinion on men, it comes from a lack of, being fulfilled in their past. And yeah, sure, there's a lot of work what needs to be done on both sides. Absolutely, I'm not gonna say there isn't, because there is. I've got work to do. So does someone else to do. You could probably say the same for yourself.
Sure, always.
And yeah, I think as a whole, and I'd say I feel it's a bit unfair, the way that men are perceived and the way that, we get treated. for the most part. I know some women who are absolutely incredible, and who could really foster a healthy and loving relationship. But sure, they still shit on men sometimes. I've heard it, I've experienced it. So yeah, I guess from my perspective on what needs to happen is, I think we all need a bit more compassion and a bit more empathy for everyone around us.
Also, bro, we, touching on my own experience, we continue to attract the same type of relationship in adult life to resemble and match our earliest childhood experiences, right? So if we had an early childhood experience where mum left, right, and we don't heal that, we continue to attract women who will leave. Like we seek out the familiar in relationships to make us feel safe, even if the familiarity is dangerous or toxic or unhealthy. Because it's familiar, it feels more safe to the nervous system than something that is unfamiliar, right? So my reflection to that would be that any woman that's continuing to attract a man that's cheating on her has her own work to do as to why she continues to attract a man like that. And if she were able to take a look at why or how she's attracted that in her life, where she could connect to that part of herself that needs the connection and love herself through that, where her relationships moving forward would change as a result. So we've always got to look at why we're attracting certain things into our life, right? And you're speaking to the collective, yes, and I agree with that. And I'm speaking to the individual, where if this is, because we could say it's a universal problem, women are thinking this about men, generalize this, generalize that. But if we want to narrow it down and speak more to the individual, then I think any time that we're projecting externally where someone has done something wrong and we continue to experience this repeated pattern in all men are bad. Why? Because I've had 5 men that have done bad things to me. You're the common denominator in that, right? Because someone else could have a similar experience where 5 men have been absolutely incredible partners to them, because that's who they attract. And so we've got to look at, why am I attracting such consistent, and a lot of the time, bro, it will be the exact same thing. It won't be 5 men did completely different things. It will be 5 men did the same thing. So it's like, why do I keep seeking this out? When we take responsibility for that, everything shifts in our external reality, right? Everything external is just a projection outward of what's happening inside of us. And so when we heal those parts of us, we stop experiencing that externally. And so anytime someone has a generalization of the world, it's typically an internal projection of what they haven't met within themselves.
Nail on the head. Absolutely would agree. Yeah, man, absolutely agree. Beautiful perspectives, as always. What's new for you in the new year?
Yeah, bro, deepening into this work more and more. I've got this the humble student cap on right now. I don't feel like I know everything or that I want to know everything. I'm just like, where can I be of greatest service? How can I, learn more, embody more, become, not more from a sense of lack, but just like, again, just surrendering to the process, to spirit, how it wants to move through me, what's next. Something that I will be doing a lot more is one-to-one coaching, right? It's a deep passion of mine. I've got some beautiful men that I'm working with at the moment, and we're having profound breakthroughs. And again, it's really just reiterating to me how powerful this work is and how much I have to offer moving forward. So really just like honoring that, trusting in that, and doing more to put my services out there. Second to that, I will be starting another men's movement on the beach. I'm going to shift it up. We started in winter. We did it on Tuesday before. I didn't promote it. I didn't think I wasn't fully in on that. This year coming forward, it'll be fortnightly. It'll be on a Saturday. It'll be starting in summer. So I think there's just a few little variables there, and I'm going to really, really get behind this, man. It feels like something that's important to me is to get men together in nature for an hour on a weekend and yeah, just continue to see where this journey unfolds, bro. I could have all these visions, but in all reality, if I'm just surrendering to the process and trusting in where I'm being called, then I don't fucking know where that will take me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Just like I know what I can manage and hold in my immediate life, like the things that I'll create like that. But as far as next steps and the trajectory of where this work is headed, I don't know. Because if I define it, then I think I constrict it. So I'd rather just leave it open to the mystery of spirit to move through me and just be like, where am I called to be? I think it's going to be really big, bro. That's my intuition. The way that things have been moving and the effortlessness at which they've been moving, I'm like, oh shit. There's a part of me which feels that a little bit of fear or apprehension of like, I feel like I'm being called into more than I would potentially cast a vision for myself, if that makes sense. I feel like if I was to create a vision, it might be here, but I'm being called into something much bigger, much greater than that. Mm-hmm. And so that's like, oh shit, let's go. I'm in for the ride.
Yeah, that's. I guess I'm navigating myself into that mind frame as well now. I think over the past few months have been really telling.
Yeah.
For me, and I'm just hands off the steering wheel, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, just surrendering to the process. And I think that's all I can do. I think that's all of us can do, really. We can have all these. One thing I think the biggest lesson that I've learned in the past 6 months is that it doesn't always work out the way you expect it's going to. Financially, career, whatever, you know, some things are just out of your control. And don't get me wrong, it's healthy to have all these goals and, you know, timelines, but I think as I continue to develop and continue to surrender to the process of life is going to happen for me, not to me. So I have to allow that, and I have to trust it. Which, you know, there's a few things that are going to be coming up with my life too. So, yeah, very exciting. And yeah, it could be a bit of a step in a new direction, redirection, I guess you could say. I'm at a point where I just want to learn and grow and experience. So I'm just going to open the gates to life, and, you know, whatever drives through or wherever I called to go into, I'm going to step into that. Now, you know, at the end of the episodes, I asked 3 questions. I'd be interested to know if you have some more insights for the beautiful people of the world. The first one being, what would be the worst bit of advice you've received?
It's a big question, hey?
So broad.
The worst piece of advice. I think there's a lot of bad advice out there these days, man. I think maybe not the worst. The worst doesn't come to mind, but some bad advice that I remember receiving was when I had my business down in Victoria. I was 23. I'd been in the company for 7 years, did my apprenticeship. Boss got sick. I took over. I ran it as my own business. I ran it for 1.5 years, busted my balls, was killing myself, completely unfulfilled, unhappy, all the things. And it took a lot for me to quit on that, because I don't quit on anything. I was like, I'm going to make it work. But I was trying to make something work that actually wasn't my vision. Big difference. Mm-hmm. And I decided at one point, I was like, I'm going to do something different. I'm leaving this place. Spent 7 or 8 years there, and I had people around me saying, at that point when I'd made a commitment, stick with it, stay with this. Like, you've got a business, you're 23, you know, don't give it up. Like, you've got so much here. And that was the worst advice, because if I'd have listened to that, I don't know where the fuck I'd be. But I was miserable working 70 hours in a steel factory, literally grinding day in, day out, breathing in paint fumes and all sorts of shit. When I left, that was the catalyst for so much transformation. I grew infinitely leaving that business, that street, that town, and here I am 8 years later. And man, if it was the worst advice, because it was so restrictive. And the converse of that is, whenever someone tells me that they've got something that means a lot to them, and they've been committed to it for a very long time, and they've been pondering the thought, and they're ready to leave it for something new, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. Because those decisions can change everything, and you'll never know unless you try. And I would have known exactly where I'd have ended up if I stayed there.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, I agree. What's been the best piece of advice you've received?
I think I spoke into it earlier, bro. The parts of myself that have been running the show, my wounding, my pain, my trauma, my whatever you want to call it, are not things to beat or overcome or attack. They're things to love, to accept, to integrate, to learn from, to embody, to be present with. And that has changed everything.
Yeah, beautiful, man. If you could sit down with someone who was to tell you that he felt like his days weren't worth living, what would you tell them?
His days weren't worth living. Man, I'd be asking a lot of questions before saying anything. So that's a challenge. I'd be like, what makes you say that? Well, you know, there'd be a lot of inquiry. If I was to say anything, it would be the fact that there's a 1 in 400 billion chance of you being alive on this earth in this moment tells me that there's something here worth living for you. Because you're not here for no reason. You're here for something.
Yeah, that's touching. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on today, brother. Our life has been a wild ride this year, and I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy life and to sit in space with me and to have a chat. I really do appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here, brother. Love hanging out with you, love connecting, love chatting, and yeah, I love what you're doing, bro, so keep it up.
Thanks, brother. I really appreciate it. Now to everyone else, that is the end of episode 13. I just wanted to thank you guys for sharing some time with us today and sitting in space with us again, as you listened in on a quality catch up with someone who I admire and someone who I hold very close to my heart. You know, I'm sure you guys have taken so much from this episode. Even I know I have. You know, you're here for a reason. There's a reason why you woke up today, and to follow the thread of your own life, follow your dreams and ambitions, and don't let the outside noise try and conflict the internal, because you're here for a reason and you embody so many positive traits of what this world needs. So from me to you, I just want to give you one big fucking hug, and just to, express how much I love and appreciate you guys for being here today and to being on this journey with me, as I navigate my own way through life. Together we rise, and that's something I live by. So from me to you, big love. From Benny to you, big love.
Big love.
And I'll see you on the next one. Ciao.
Yep.